Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here. And I have, I don't know, guys, Luke, he might own like 7 businesses now. We don't even know. How you doing, Luke?
I'm doing really good. How about you?
I'm doing good, man. So we'll kind of frame it out. How old are you, Luke?
I'm 14 years old.
You're 14 years old. Okay. I love it. So, you know me, guys, I like to have amazing people on the podcast, people that inspire you. So I heard about Luke. I wanted to chat. So first, let's kind of give some backstory. Your dad does what for who? What company?
So we both actually work for Amanda Holmes, who is the CEO of Chet Holmes International, or what lots of people would know, the Ultimate Sales Machine this year, what people call the Red Bible. And so I've been an intern there for 2 years now. And it all started because of a podcast episode I did with her. And then my dad's been there for just about a year now, maybe a little over now. And so, yeah, we've been, and now we both work together with her.
So you started as an intern at 12 years old?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So talk me through this. How did that come about? What happened? What got you to want to do that?
So if we're going way back, my dad, he was a John Deere salesperson. You'll see the little green everywhere of tractors and combines that we have lots of different John Deere models. And so he was a salesperson, sales manager there for 12 years. And when he first started, he saw a guy by the name of Chet Holmes. And for him, he was like, wow, he got the first edition of the Ultimate Sales Machine. And he'll tell this really good too. But what he did is he's like, wow, this educational based selling is really interesting. And so he started following him along and implementing some of his strategies, and it went really, really well. And then eventually Chet unfortunately passed away. And then my dad always kept implementing his strategies and watching his videos and keeping up with what he taught. And then eventually my dad told me about this lady named Amanda Holmes about probably 2.5 years ago, before I was an intern, saying, hey, I know I've taught, because he taught me different strategies that Chet Holmes did so through certain things, and got me to read some of the book and watch some videos and all that kind of stuff. And then he's like, we should reach out to Amanda and get to connect. And so we did that, and we all went back and forth. My dad and Amanda went back and forth on Instagram, and eventually the 3 of us set up a podcast interview just like this on Zoom, and we just talked about everything and anything for about an hour or so. And I think I have the interview on my YouTube channel. I should check. And and then eventually I edited the interview, and then Amanda said, wow, this is actually really good. Would you be interested in doing an internship? And I'm like, of course. Like, how could you say no to that? Right? Like, this is the daughter of the person who made the Red Bible and now who rewrote it. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it. So then I went in there, and it's been really good. I've been there for 2 years now. And then afterwards, my dad he went through a boot camp taught by Amanda. And so my dad went through that, and he loved the strategies. He was a little bit confused. And then my Amanda helped him out with a few things and said, hey, how about we position it this way? And he implemented it. He created a buyer's guide called the top 5 reasons why. I can't remember how you worded it, because it was the top 5 reasons why your farm would fail. Is basically what it meant. But I think he turned it to struggle, because fail was such at the time, this was 1.5 years ago, was such a everyone was on a little bit of edge with COVID and all that kind of stuff. And so he created that, and he generated like 8.4 million in like 6 or 8 weeks just because off that, by educating people. And so it's just a bit of a story there, but I think it's something worth telling. But yeah.
So, maybe there's a couple people listening out there and they're thinking, what can a 12-year-old do for a multi-million-dollar company? What did you, when you came in as an intern, what did you start doing for them?
So my thing for my YouTube channel really quick is, my tagline is a kid's opinion of a grown-up's world.
Okay.
And so my offer was that I can give a different opinion than all of the adults that are already in the company. And so when I first got in there, I was doing a little bit of everything. Amanda was teaching me lots of different things to do with pretty much everything. But my main position there was to do lots of the social media stuff. So video editing, short form content creation, social media, kind of work of trying to figure out, what trends are going on, what's going on in that kind of work. And then also little bits here and there of implementing things that they talk about, like Dream 100 and that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so just, pretty much a little bit of everything.
Is there I think I don't know if I got the whole story, but were you asking questions of like major corporations? Were you like asking them questions and stuff? Is that something I heard? Is that part of your internship?
A bit now, it's happened a little more frequently now in like the last year or so. At that time, it was more with a few really important people still, but more of just learning the back end and phoning up a few people. But yeah, you're pretty much right on that.
So let's unpack this YouTube channel, A Kid's View of an Adult's World. From your point of view, 12, now 14 as an intern, what aspects of business do you find, you've interviewed people, you've been around business, what aspects do you think people have trouble with when it comes to business?
I'd say one of them is probably trying to, accepting maybe new changes or growth. In the last 5 years, a lot has changed, right? Advertising, even sales and everything has really took a turn from, normally if you would go to a, when you'd buy
So guys,
something.
while he gets his internet fixed.
Oh, can you hear me, Austin?
Yeah, we've been having a lot of power problems here in Pennsylvania, so I don't know, it might have just dropped, but we'll just keep it going, and I'll have my
Sounds good.
podcast producer edit it. So you were saying one of the bigger issues that you've seen is changes in business?
Yeah, so I'd say, lots of change has been happening. Even in the last 10 years, people have been moving a lot from, going into a store to, buy their groceries or tech or camping or whatever products. And now it's all based online, and it's kind of changing a lot of different things, especially even with AI now. I mean, it's changing a lot of different jobs. And so I'd say, for people right now, it's accepting and maybe moving into a new area and kind of accepting that maybe their position that they're doing right now as a CEO, an employee, a manager, whatever it is changing a little bit. Doesn't mean that the jobs are going away. I think people are scared of AI completely taking over jobs. Like there was one interesting McDonald's place down in Denver, Colorado, and that there was completely run by robots. And so people are, a bit frustrated that it's taking over jobs. But I would say instead, there's still people that have to go maintain those machines, right? So I just think that the jobs are they're changing direction for just lots for AI, if it's taking over, or more online buying decisions are just changing a bit. And people are a little bit scared of that, but I think that we need to kind of accept it a little bit and just figure out how we can adapt to it.
And why do you think adults have trouble with change?
Me and my dad, we call it paradigms, which Bob Proctor teaches. A paradigm is a multitude of habits and beliefs that you've gone through genetics or through people telling you a certain amount of times over from your grandparents or your parents or friends telling you a certain thing. And so eventually it's like this bit of a mind block, if you will, that you get a bit of a paradigm that to only think a certain way. For example, if you're, say, 40 years old or whatever, sometimes when you're starting maybe an online business or podcast, you get those kind of thoughts in your mind that come up that you're like, this isn't going to work out, or who would actually watch this, or certain things like that, because people have already said that to you, right? But instead, switching around and saying, if, for example, if AI comes along in that McDonald's and people say this is going to take over jobs, that's because everyone in their similar age group has also told them robots are taking over our jobs. But instead, if we look at a different point of view from maybe a different age group or a different generation or different people that don't have or have moved those paradigms around and saying, well, no, actually, it's going to be different, but we just have to adapt to it. And so, yeah, I'd say paradigms is the biggest thing. That's what we call it, that is blocking those people.
I love that. What aspects of the Sales Machine book, I've read it twice now. I have my sales guys reading it as we speak. What aspects of the book, that do you enjoy, that you've seen help other people's business so much? Is it, because here's my philosophy, is I think it's far less about the actual systems of business and it's more about the systems of oneself, meaning, our routine, our consistency, taking care of ourselves, our health. And then the business is just an enhancement of you taking care of yourself.
Totally. And I think it's also, of you being a product of the product too. When we teach, our programs or things like that, are you actually implementing that? Right? It's crazy to see how many people, just like you said, how many people are actually, taking care of their body. Because, when you're the face of your brand, or you're the CEO, or even the employee, if there's one person or a couple people that aren't exactly aligned with the rest of the company, that can really tear down, the growth that the company will have, right? Maybe one employee just doesn't see the future of it. They can't grow enough with how fast the company is growing, maybe again, through paradigms. And so I would say, yeah, I think people just need to, I lost my train of thought there, but yeah, I think
No, I'm trying to understand. There's no
Yeah.
chance that you're 14 years old. I feel like I'm talking to a 60-year-old right now. I am so confused. How are you so well spoken? How are you so dialed in? I've got to understand. Is this the way your dad's been teaching you? Have you always been helping your dad business? I'm sitting here, I'm thinking to myself, what was I doing at 14 years old? I was rollerblading. This guy's talking to me about paradigm shifts.
I, like my dad always says, my dad has been the biggest impact for me and teaching me, but he always said to me too, surround yourself with the people you want to be like, right? That's why I'm on this podcast today, because our frequency is aligned, because we talk the same and we think a lot alike. And so, that was the biggest thing for me, is there's certain people that, maybe you've known for a while, that my dad said this too, you've known for a while, you've done certain things with, but eventually you will have to, if they're not exactly, helping you out, or you can't help them out, maybe they're just on a negative frequency, or they only they have those paradigms stuck that, you've tried to help them, but they're not very giving, that they can kind of change around that. So sometimes you do have to remove those people, or limit the amount of time that you spend time with those people, and give more time to people that you do want to be like.
I love that. It's the truth. And I think what I want to do for you, and I already knew I was going to do this, but now that I met you, I want to even do it even more, is we're going to be hosting entrepreneurship events with some of the top business owners around the country. once, in the fall and the spring. I would love to fly you out, even your dad too, and you come hang out with a bunch of top level business people, because I want, I just had a podcast with another gentleman. The reason that we're buying all these businesses is because I want to create an entrepreneurship school for kids, and I want to invest in their businesses in high school, middle school, because I think it's, it's so cliche to say, but the kids are our future. And what I am surprised about, and I only know from my own, because I coach people, what I know is that these 21 and 26 and 20, I'm just taking them for an example, they're making over 100 grand and they're still saying it's not enough. The fulfillment's not there. I'm not impacting people the right way. We've created a different type of person these days. And when I meet somebody such as you, I'm just so excited about their mindset and the way they work. And I want to do everything I can to support them and get them to even more. When you intern for, like, what is you're 14 now. Let's fast forward 5-6 years from now, you're 18. You get to make, you're already making your own decisions, but you're really making your own decisions. What is it that you want to do in your career? Do you want to start a business? Do you want to work in a company? What it is that gets you up every morning?
That was always a little bit difficult to look at, but once I kind of figured out what I wanted for my goals in the future, but I'd say the biggest thing for me that I always say to everyone is, no matter, what changes I figure out, or maybe I want to take a completely different path or whatever, I always want to help people in any way I can, right? In any career or business or whatever I start, I always want to make sure that it impacts and help people in any way I can. So right now, my company, Luke's View, right, giving a point of view on products and camping gear and tech products and that type of thing from a kid's point of view, that's helping people with their buying decisions and making sure that they, pick the, the best bang for buck, high quality products that, get them what they're looking for. Right. And so I have, even neighbors and friends that reach out to me saying, I'm looking for a mountain bike, or I'm looking for a pair of headphones, or I'm looking for, even an ATV. Which one would you recommend? Right. And so I've already researched all of these and say, hey, for your specific needs, I probably wouldn't go with this one because of this, this, and this. I'd actually go with this one because it does this, which will help you with this. Right. So that's how I help people. And in any way too, I mean, with Amanda too, that's with, lots of social media stuff, but also now more behind the scenes and podcast work with her and my dad as well. And so they're helping people all the time, right? They're doing lots of different things, like speaking on stages, impacting people, helping companies that have really good products and services that just need to have their voice get out there a little bit more and get out to more people. And so
When did you start your YouTube channel? How old were you?
9 years old.
9 years old. What got you to start? Did you see other people doing it?
So for me, I really liked camping since I was, very little. I've loved camping. I also got first camera when I was 3 years old, and I've been taking photos and videos ever since. And so my dad at the time, he was writing a book right here called The Good Boss when I was about 7 years old. And he did that for a year or so, and he was writing that. And I just saw and he was coaching at the time too. And I saw how passionate he was about when he was doing his coaching and writing his book. And he was super passionate about what he was doing. And so I was like, well, what if I could do something like that? And so I looked at, what did I enjoy doing? So at the time, one of my favorite things to do was, before we went camping, was making camping lists of all the products that I loved. I loved watching product reviews and all these different things. But I noticed that no product review videos were done by kids. They're all done by adults and big companies, right? That we're talking about, hey, here's our product, it's the best, that type of thing. But what if you got like a genuine, good review channel done by a kid who has a different point of view in the grown-ups world? And so I said at 8 years old, right before I turned 9, that I was going to do this. So I found a good website, I used Wix.com and just fired up a website and then started making videos and started telling people about it. And then eventually people caught on and enjoyed what I was doing.
What was the hardest thing about growing your YouTube channel?
I guess for me, with companies at the time when I was first started, and even still now a bit, it's gotten a little bit better, but sometimes companies don't exactly see the reason or future to that, right? I'm 10 or 11 years old, how is this actually going to help us? you need a certain amount of subscribers to do this, that type of thing. But at the time, I didn't really know what to say to that. But now when I get a rejection like that, I know that I can educate them a little bit more, and they just need more reasons why that I'm the best fit for them, and how I can help them, and educating them on me.
What is your advice to, any parents or any kids that are listening to this on if they want to start their own business, they want to intern, like what's your advice to them?
I would say find out whatever you're super passionate about, not going on Instagram or whatever and finding, the next, what we call shiny object that, this will make the most amount of money super fast, right? Everyone's always, quick money, right? Make it super, here's how you can make $1,000 in a day or something. Find something that you're really passionate about and that you can talk about forever, right? If someone came up to you and said, hey, can you tell me about this? And you could talk for hours on it, and something that you are really passionate about and you actually do in your day-to-day life. And once you figure that out and you know you want to do it and you're committed to doing it, I always say just start, right? So many people get stuck on, trying all the little things. Oh, I have to get this perfect. I have to get this perfect. No, you just have to get something out there, get videos out there, and just start getting your name and your videos or whatever you're doing, your product, your service, anything out into the world so that you can start telling people about it, instead of always, trying to make, I need to make sure that the graphics are absolutely perfect and I need to make the website perfect. That's important, but it's also important to just start, because you can get stuck on that for years trying to make sure it's absolutely perfect, to where when you start it, then you can never know if it's perfect until it's out there, right? I can make what I think is the perfect graphic. And then once I put it out there, I'm like, oh, wait, the market's actually changed now. People don't like maybe this or whatever, right? People don't like this certain messaging. This resonates more with people, so you have to change it, right? So back to just put something out there, because everything's always changing and you have to be adaptive to change.
Are you in school right now or homeschooled or?
Homeschooled.
Okay, who does that?
My mom does that for, lots of the curriculum part for math, science, social studies. And then my dad does lots of the mindset and training part with me and my brother.
Yep. So you have a brother. How old is he?
He's 11 years old.
Is he into this stuff like you're into this stuff?
He has a YouTube channel where he does stop motion with Legos. And I don't even know how he does it. Like, it's definitely something that I'm not good at. So he would take, little Lego figurines and zoom right in and make them, tell a story without actually very many, talking points or whatever, right? So he can make a whole day in the life of a Lego creator, right? So he'd put like this Lego figurine, gets out of bed, gets dressed, go to work, drive its car, all these different things. And he makes this little story out of these little tiny Lego figurines in this little Lego world that he has. And I think that's really cool.
So you're interning for the company. What's one of the coolest stories or coolest things that's happened to you in the time that you've been doing that you remember that you got real excited about?
I guess one of the coolest things was when my dad started there. It was excited to see that I could be even working with him, even more. We were already working together, a lot, and now it's going to be like full time. Everything that we do is going to be together now that he's in that company. And so it's been really good since I can, I'm his assistant pretty much, to where I can help him with all those different things and help him with sales calls and making sure to follow up and being a product of the product. We always say, once we get sometimes unaligned, is this being a product of the product, right? Are we implementing what we say we do, right? And so it's really fun doing with my dad and Amanda, and that's probably one of the coolest stories, is just being able to have a synchronized team there that is everyone works together, works cohesively, and everyone has a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like that saying. One of my mentors told me, does your audio match your video? And I think, are you a product of the product? Like, I love that. Like, that's, I haven't heard that before. And it's such an amazing point, because, when we were talking about the previous guy, is a lot of people sometimes, especially stubborn people like me, have to say it a lot of times. And the question that you have to ask yourself is, am I living in alignment with what the words that are coming out of my mouth? Am I backing up what I'm saying? And I think, when it comes down to, I was just talking about this today with a client, personal integrity is something that's happening when people aren't watching. And we can be the leader and we can say all the right things and people can listen to us, but when you're, what I tell everybody is like being a CEO of a company and running, multiple employees and on all these things. Same with Amanda. A lot of it is done in the dark. A lot of it's done in the shadows, and a lot of the work I do is in the early morning, and a lot of the health stuff I do in the early morning. And you have to be comfortable enough to know that you're not going to shortcut yourself, right? Because the only person that you're hurting is yourself in that situation.
Totally.
And saying that to yourself, are you the product of the product? I love that. And there's an ex-baseball player who is the fiance of one of my business partners. He's very popular. He's on TV. You really need to meet him because he speaks to youth all the time. I got to introduce you to him. He's amazing. But
I'd love that.
He says something similar about that. And, he's just trying. What I love about him is he lets people be inspired by what they're inspired. Like, meaning that, yeah, you might have done baseball for now, but maybe baseball, that passion is turned into business, or it's turned into helping kids, right? It doesn't have to. I think we get our identity wrapped up into what we do too much instead of just being who we are. And what I predicate myself on is being identified by my values, and my values move with me no matter what.
I like that. I really like that. And I agree too. I mean,
yeah.
You gotta, whenever you're moving, you're gonna have, like we say, me and my dad say, there's chapter 1 and then sometimes there's chapter 2, right? You take a completely different page and you say, these habits here aren't serving me anymore. These people I'm hanging around with aren't serving me anymore. This job or career just isn't what I'm looking for. This doesn't push me to where I need, and you start a whole new chapter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd
and
say
a lot of people, what I tell everybody is entrepreneurship and changing is like this. It's like walking down a dark hall with no lights on and no door handles. And you have to have enough faith to step, like Indiana Jones. You have to have enough faith to step on that next step, not being able to see that step. Because it's super easy to go backwards because that's what you know.
Totally. Right. Yeah. All of a sudden you get scared. Oh, maybe this might be, too much challenging. And you start stepping back and you go back to square one where you were before.
And that's comfortable and it feels good. And that's great. But that's you not leveling up. And what you realize is as you grow is breaking through the ceiling, right? It just happened to me 2 weeks ago. People think it's wild, right? They're like, oh, you're a high achiever. Like, it's cool, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, but I still have my own ceilings. And that same mentor said, you have to make your ceiling your new floor.
I like that.
That, right? And so I had a thing where for like 6 to 8 months, I was still performing, but I wasn't like the best. I wasn't inspired. There was a lot going on in my life. Clients were driving me crazy. We moved, like so many different things. Like it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. It was just kind of whatever, But in the last 3 weeks, a month, I ratcheted it up another notch. The gears got clicked in. The inspiration came back, and like there's a different fire now. And I got through that uncomfortableness, and you can tell that I'm engaged again. I'm healthier. I'm taking care of myself. I'm taking it to the next level, and it feels great. But what I've realized, if you truly want to create the 1%, you have to do it on the days that you don't want to.
I agree with that.
And you have to understand that consistency is a buzzsaw to life. It is a buzzsaw. It will run through any attitude, any company, any moment, but you have to be consistent with yourself.
I always say that for anyone, like, I have a coaching client for their YouTube channel that they're starting, right? So many people I see, get, 5 videos and post them all in a week and then don't post for 2 months, right? They start, email lists and blogs and YouTube channels and websites, but they don't actually follow through with them a month later, right? Consistency is key. And back to what you were saying before, of making sure that you have enough growth. Me and my dad always say, if you're not growing, you're dying. And in between is really boring, right? In that hallway, you're taking very tiny steps just so that you're not exactly going backwards, but you're staying still, right? So that once you reach the end, well, you're going to be, it's too late, right? And so you have to take those leaps.
Dude, I have a good friend. He's one of the smartest guys I know. He's read more books. I call him the encyclopedia. He said the problem with getting better and 1% is that 1% backwards is not 1%. It's actually 2. And he says, like, and so, like, if you think about it that way, the 1% keeps etching forward, but if you go back to 0, you're actually going negative. So it's not just one thing you're etching back. And and so those are things that people don't talk about, right? So think about the thing that's never talked about in business called opportunity cost. And when you're not ready for the situation, you're not losing that sell. Yes, you're losing the sell that might be $5,000, but you're also losing that referral that might be another 10 or 20. So it's not just the 5,000. And
I
so
agree
many
with that.
people quantify it, right? And so there's a lot of things that I do day in and day out as CEO and president of my companies that people don't see value in. But I'll tell a quick story because you're a sales guy. You love this stuff. So there's a client who I found out they had trouble with something. We didn't do the work. But they were having trouble with something. All I said was, can I fix this for you? Can I let my guys look at it and fix it for you? And they go, yeah, if you want, but you're not gonna, it doesn't matter. You're not gonna fix it. And so we fixed it. And they had a bill for like $400. And they said, are we paying this? And I said, no. I asked if I could help you to fix it. That's it. They said, you sure? I said, yeah, it's cool. It's gone. Cool. Can you bid on this job? Well, this job was a $150,000 job.
Wow, that's a good one.
So the question
it's
is
going out
what,
there and already, willing to give without expecting anything in return, right? It's an old quote and an old saying that everyone always says, but it's true, right? And I think it's going out and helping people. I do that every day, right? Like there's my neighbors down the road. I like working outside a lot. We live on an acreage and lots of my neighbors have acreages, right? And so we go over there and so for me, I'll go help them, today it snowed, right? So I'll go help them shovel their snow or whatever. And I'll say, no, it's just purely volunteer. It got me good exercise. Then the next day they call me back and say, hey, I have all these projects I'd like to do, and they pay really well, right? And just to your story, it's a little bit smaller than
no,
your
you're
success,
fine. That's
it's,
it. Yeah.
no, it's true though. And I think, just giving out and just wanting to help people in any way you can.
Well, it's the difference between playing the short game and the long game. And, my friend, that same friend, the smart guy, he has a great quote. And he said, every investment viewed on the proper time horizon is a great investment.
Totally.
And,
I like,
and everybody,
you have some really good quotes today.
Dude, they call me the quote machine, dude.
I can tell you've interviewed a lot of people.
So what's interesting, right, is that my issue with, I'll just talk about health, business in general, mindset, everything, is everybody are behaving as if they're in a 6-month sprint. Are you going to be healthy for the rest of your life? Or are you going to be healthy for 6 months?
True.
If that's the case, right? One of my favorite things I ever heard, one of my favorite guys, Kyle Cease, right? He says he went on a juice cleanse for 3 days and he gained weight. And he got so mad he threw the scale at the wall. And he said, whoa, hold on. He goes, what was the objective here? The objective was not to lose weight. It was to feel great. Well, I feel great. Okay, if I feel great, that was the goal. And then you didn't worry anymore. And it's like we're not classifying, we're not identifying what the actual reason was, and we forgot it in the first place. If my goal is to impact everybody at every moment and uplift everybody that I'm around, it doesn't matter if they hear it now or they hear it 5 years from now. That's what I'm still doing. And it takes a lot to get there mentally. Like even if a client's upset with you, but 6 years later, what you said synced in, then I ultimately did my job.
Yeah, it's true. It's funny how you see different quotes on, social media or on a TV show. And it's weird when you're doing something and you didn't remember it before. You couldn't say it if someone asked you about it, but it's like a year later, it's like it pops up in your head. You're like, oh yeah, that's a good one. That's relevant to right now.
My favorite one, I'm a Jim Rome junkie. My favorite one is if you knew where I was going, you know why I'm up so early.
That I saw that one. Yeah, I like that quote.
Yeah, that's my favorite one. I got so many good ones because ultimately there are things that make you stop and they make you think, right? And it's in those impactful moments, right? And one of mine that I say is everything you seek is on the other side of action. Like we're trying to come up with a plan to fit it in this box instead of just going out and doing the thing. And one of my
Totally.
favorite quotes, Alex Ramosi said, "Your business will work on you more than you work on it."
That's a good one. Lots of good ones.
I told you, I
Another
got
one,
them all
speaking
day. Yeah.
of Jim Rohn too, he has another good one that I like to share with people. Some people get, work-life balance mixed up or whatever. And I think that's a big topic right now, but I think people are trying too hard at it. But one thing that he says is, and I'm pretty sure this is from him, but he says, when he was at the office, right? And when he was at the office, he's thinking about the beach, right? And when he's at the beach, he's thinking about the office. And so when you're always focusing on something else that, you're trying to do, that isn't exactly, just be in the present moment, he says, right? Always be, going after something, always be, taking action on something, but also, I think sometimes too, take a step back and just look at what you've achieved too, because sometimes we can get really caught up in always the next thing, which is really, really good and really important, but it's also important to, appreciate, wow, I've done this so far, look at it for a second and then keep going, right? Just so you kind of have that feeling.
Have you read the book The Gap in the Gain?
No, actually.
All right, change your life.
I'll
That
read it.
concept you're just talking about, it's the book that I didn't know I was looking for 10 years.
Really?
It's one of my favorite coaches. His name is Dan Sullivan. He's been a high level coach for 45 years. He wrote, when COVID happened, he decided to write 100 books. And he wrote about his life and coaching high achievers. And they're 100 pages. They're pictures. They're my favorite books. They're $1 on Kindle. I read them like I built my entire company off of one of his entire concept called the self-managing business. Don't worry, I'll get your address. I'll send you books. I'm going to take care of it. So this book is, so the gap in the gain was a concept. He said, so the gap is the ideal self, meaning something you'll never live up to. Those people will always be unhappy. But if you look at how far you've come, then that's the gain. And so this whole book's about this concept.
Exactly.
I actually just picked it up again this morning. But everybody I've got the book to, they're like, oh my God. Like even my dad read it and he was like, oh my God. He's like, this is what I was doing to you when you were a kid. I'm like, yeah. So, it's, these concepts, like where we build our businesses off of this frameworks, right? Because I think frameworks give you, 1% better every day, take action, all those things. One of the most impactful things I've ever heard in my life, ever, was actually from a yoga retreat. Random friend, and the exercise was this: there was 40 people in the room, and she said, "I want you to fill out." So think of 3 people that you inspire to be like, what they value, who they are, their traits. So, okay, boom. So they write 3 people, and they write down the 10 things that they value them, right? She waits for a little bit and she goes, okay, what I want you to do now is I want you to go back and I want you to cross out those 3 people's name and I want you to put your name above it. Because the only way that you would know those traits are in that people if they were already inside of you.
That's a good one. I really like that.
We're unable to see traits in somebody else if we already don't have them inside.
That's true. You can't say that someone is a good or bad driver if you've never driven before, right?
Exactly. You have to have a connection with it because it's the truth, right? So if people want to find out your YouTube channel, they want to find out about you, they want to reach out to you, how would they do that?
So my YouTube channel and website, just Luke's View or lukesview.com. And then all my other social media is just my name, Luke Aberle. And that's it.
So guys, every day I wake up and I get inspired. I get inspired by the opportunities, by what we can do with YouTube channels and connecting with him in Canada and getting connected to him from Amanda. And I flew down to Tampa and spent the day with her, met her on Twitter. Like, life is crazy. Luke, I am, after this is done, I'm going to reach out to your dad on Instagram. We're already friends. And I'm going to explain to him that I rarely get this impressed in my life. And I am impressed by who you are as a human, who you are and the man you're becoming, and the business that you're running. I'll talk about this interview for a long time to come. So thank you for coming on and inspiring me. And I hope you inspired many other people from this interview today.
I appreciate that. I'm going to talk about this interview too. I haven't done one for a few months now, and this is by far one of my favorites in years.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. If you got some value from this and you enjoyed it, share it with a friend. We'll see you next time.